my friends, how are you guys doing today? I hope you're all having a great day wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Hope you're loving yourself and loving the people you're with, because that is what it is all about. Guys, today we are going to be talking about the newest edition from the Phillipou brothers. Those are the gentlemen that brought us Talk to Me. It was a great horror movie from last year, or year before last, I can't remember. But they bring Her Back. Now, I've been wanting to see this since it came out in the theaters, guys. But I just didn't get around to checking it out. And so finally, I got into it, right? Before we get into it, hit that like and subscribe button for me. But Bring Her Back is basically a possession horror movie. This is a supernatural horror film in the vein of stuff like The Exorcist, Possession, things like that. Now, there's been a lot of possession horror movies, in that subgenre. There's been a lot of possession films over the years, some more memorable than others, right? This film, Bring Her Back, is going to be one of those films that people remember for decades. This is very much an Exorcist film. And by that, I mean not only in subject matter, but it is going to be one of those films that people look back on and they're like, yeah, that's one of my inspirations for horror films, for me becoming a horror film director. People are going to look back on that and be like, that was one of the first films I saw that made me want to be a horror film director, because this is so well written. This is so well made. I apologize for the nasally voice, guys. I am still stopped up. But yeah, this is so well made, and it's so well written, acted. The ambiance, the way that these brothers are able to craft this film, that it doesn't rely on an abundance of gore, an abundance of shock factor, but when it hits you like a Mack truck. Right? I mean, it really does. You're watching this film and it draws you in. You're drawn in from the opening scenes. It draws you in. It sets the tone. And they set the tone immaculately, I must say. But these guys set the tone. And then we go through this film. We follow this brother and sister. And they are, in a foster home situation. They go to this lady's house. This lady has a child, a son, and we find that, this child may or may not be possessed. And there may be some mental illness there, because the woman that is this child's mother, she's thrown off in her head anyway. When we first meet her, you can tell there's something not right with her, right? But the way that everything is portrayed leads us to our climax, our finale of the film, and everything is just, it falls into place so nicely, and it's so well crafted that you just can't look away, and it's not hard to follow. That's another thing that some of these films do. They get into this this gray area where they start talking about religion, this and that. There's no mention of anything like that. This is straightforward. Like, if it was real, if possessions were real and you saw, this is what it would look like. This is what it would be. And I applaud them for that, because there's some of these movies, these supernatural possession movies, where things are just over the top. You've got heads spinning around backwards. You've got, all these different over-the-top special effects, but this doesn't rely on that. It relies on, I want to say shock factor, but it also relies on the appropriate amount of suspense being built before you see something. Because there's a lot of films that rely, boo, and then you're, no, this appropriately and subtly builds this tension throughout the entire film, that it's just heavy in the atmosphere while you're watching it. And then all of a sudden, there'll be a scene that's just really, really shocking, and you're like, wow. And it's not that it was scary, it's that it just caught you off guard. And I feel like that would be a lot of what probably a real possession would be. There'd be a lot of, catching people off guard with some of the things that are said or done and things like that. So I applaud them for the way that they make their movies. They are so they're masters of crafting not only something technically beautiful, but something that in the long run is going to stand the test of time when watched over the decades. And it is going to be one of those films that inspires other people to become filmmakers, especially horror filmmakers, because there were moments in this where I had to pick my jaw up off the ground because I was like, did that really just happen? And it was out of the blue. I mean, it really does. Gosh, it's such a well-made film. And I would say, out of all the horror films I've seen this year so far, this is by far my favorite. Is it my number one film of the year? No, but as a pure horror film, it's definitely my number one film in the horror genre this year. It is a fantastic film that I highly recommend to everyone. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I rented it on Prime. It was like $5.99. I'm going to own a copy at some point because it is well worth your coin. If you get a chance to see it, guys, please do. Get out there and check it out. And as always, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. And I'm going to keep making them as long as you keep watching them. Peace out. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.